This is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. Today what we're going to talk about is why your compost is not composting. And you know, I have seen this time and time again. I visit a lot of gardeners, a lot of people that are composting, homeowners that think they're doing good because they're composting, but yet their compost is never done and they got bugs in it, it ain't working and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going to share with you guys my one top tip to get your compost working instead of not working. And this is the thing I've seen the most, right? So what the homeowners have here is they got a compost tumbler. So it's a tumbling compost system. And I like the compost tumbler systems for me, and for many people they work, for some people they don't work. I like the tumblers because number one, they keep out, you know, varmint like rats and all this kind of stuff, and mice that can get in there and create havoc and all this kind of stuff. Number two, depending on where you live, it might be a good thing because it retains moisture. So in the arid climate that I live in, you know, a pile on the ground would just dry out really fast and I'd have to use excess water to keep it at the right moisture level, right? But most compost piles are at a pretty decent moisture level, but you know, they don't have this issue. So what the homeowner's been doing here is they actually just take their composted kitchen scraps, which is what most people compost. You could also compost lawn clippings and tree leaves and, you know, parts of vegetables out of your garden when you're pulling them up, and you put them in your bin. And then you could open your bin, and what I want to show you guys next is actually what this bin looks like on the inside. All right, so this is what the bin looks like on the inside. If you look at it, it's like, I don't know, it's like really, really wet, right? Number one, compost shouldn't be too dry and it shouldn't be too wet. And basically they added like leaves to this once, and then they just kept dumping food scraps. And that's what I see often. People think if they just keep dumping food scraps, it's gonna compost down. And yes, while compost does happen and you can compost with food scraps, it's more likely rotting than composting. So another indication of this is actually if you look closely, and I'm not gonna pick up any of these guys, maybe I will for the camera today. They got these little things in there. If you're a girl, you guys are gonna freak out, so hide the camera. These guys, it's moving, it's alive, And those guys are called black soldier flies, and basically they're nature's degraders. You know, they eat rotten stuff. And that they're in there because your compost is not happening properly. If there's creatures in your compost is not happening properly because you need to have a proper carbon to nitrogen ratio in your compost. And if you're adding things like the food scraps, right, you're adding a lot of nitrogen, you know, also known as green, so grass clippings and food scraps or the greens, but you also need to add the browns, right? Remember, brown power. All right, so we need the browns. So what are browns? So browns are leaves, but John, they added leaves once. Well, you need to add like 4 times as much leaves as the food scraps. So you need to remember to do this often. In addition, the leaves don't break down as fast, so I'd recommend like, you know, grinding them up into smaller pieces so they break down faster, because some leaves just simply don't break down. I mean, we could see whole leaves in here, like these are some oak leaves that just haven't broken down over time. So what I recommended yesterday the homeowner do is actually go out and get my #1 favorite carbon source that may be available near you for super cheap. So let's go ahead and take a look at that next. So my #1 favorite carbon source that you guys are missing if your compost pile is rotten, stinky, and got bugs is this stuff right here. Super simple, super easy. It's actually just known as the, this is from Tractor Supply. It was like $6 a bag of 40 pounds. Super good deal. Normally, maybe it's depending on where you live, it could be like $8, 40 pounds. These are just natural pine pellets. This is equine bedding pellets, so very important. You want to get the horse bedding pellets at a feed store. You know, they don't have any additives or preservatives or chemicals in there because, you know, they're meant for horses because they don't want to get their expensive horses sick. But guess what these guys are? These guys are compressed carbon nodules. And this is what they look like right here. Basically just compressed sawdust, nothing added. And you're gonna wanna put these into your compost pile. So what I do is I take a 5-gallon bucket. In the bottom, about that much of the bucket, I'll fill up with the pine pellets, right? And then I'll put all my food on top of the bucket. And, you know, say you're gonna put it in a bag inside your, you know, garbage disposal cruncher thing. You can just line these in the bottom of the bag, and then when you dump your compost in there, it's already in the bottom of the bag and it's gonna be pre-mixed. So you just need to find the right ratio to use in the bottom, right? and that way you're going to add carbon every single time you add them. In addition, because these pine pellets, they absorb their weight in water. I mean, horses pee on these things and they pop up and they fluff up. And the other thing, if you got cats, they sell this stuff for cat litter. And if you buy it at like PetSmart or whatever, you know, they're gonna charge you 10 times as much as if you get the horse stuff. And it's the same stuff, right? That could save you a lot of money right there. But yeah, these guys, absorb the water, so they keep your bucket cleaner in my case, or could keep things cleaner. And so you don't get all that funny, runny stuff that drips all over your, floors when you're taking it outside of the compost pile. But in addition, you're adding the carbon that's required for composting. So because they added this in yesterday, this pile is already a little bit warmer than it was yesterday, meaning that now the microbes are able to act appropriately because they have a better ratio of carbon to nitrogen. Now this pile is still a bit wet for me, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and add some more of the pine pellets. And I mean, a question you guys might have is, how much pine pellets do I add? Well, you know what? Basically, they had pretty much this composter pretty full, and of this 40-pound bag, they probably added about maybe 1/3 of it so far, and I'm gonna add about another 1/3 of it to kind of get it up to speed and let it get composting. The other thing I would highly encourage you guys to get is a compost thermometer, right? Compost thermometer is cheap on Amazon, maybe 13, 15 bucks. I have a video on it already. I'll put a link down below for the compost thermometer I bought. And you could check your compost, and if your compost is not in the right range, because it'll give you like little things, like in this temperature range, it's red, too hot. In this temperature range, it's green. In this temperature range, it's yellow, maybe not hot enough. You need to like dial it in. And normally, biggest reason why compost piles don't work, not enough carbon. So go out and get yourself some of these pelletized, pine pellets used for horse bedding to get your compost pile on fire. Well, not really on fire, but working accurately. So within about, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, you could have a finished, compost pile, finished compost to put into your garden instead of just rotting, smelling stuff that is sitting there for a year and doing nothing. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be sure to check my other episodes. I'll put links down below for other episodes I have on composting and how I compost myself. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Also be sure to subscribe if you're not already. I have new videos coming out all the time. And be sure to check out past episodes. I have over 1,050 episodes now on all aspects of growing food at home, including, composting and visiting farms and everything else related. And I'm sure you will love them. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode once again. My name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, until then, keep on growing. All right, this is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. To have another exciting episode for you. Today, I find myself again in Phoenix making another episode for you guys. Now, if you guys liked the last episode with Jake Mace at his place, I'd recommend checking it out. I'll put a link down below. Basically, it was a tour of his home orchard